Morning, Sonia Watson and Ian Wyatt on the BBC Essex Breakfast Show for a Monday morning. It's the 2nd of December. Tom Croasdale has our top story.
Tributes are being paid to the two victims of the London Bridge terror attack as it's revealed the attacker was wearing an electronic tag. There'll be a vigil later for the two victims of Friday's terror attack at London Bridge. Saskia Jones and Jack Merritt were stabbed by convicted terrorist Usman Khan. It's emerged the 28-year-old was wearing an electronic tag when he carried out the attack. The Ministry of Justice is now reviewing the licence conditions of every convicted terrorist released from prison. The Prime Minister says a law brought in by the previous Labour government was the reason Khan was released early. Policing Minister Kit Malthouse says Boris Johnson was well within his rights to make that point, but some, including Tommy Shepherd from the SNP, are accusing the PM of politicising the attack.
I do feel that we've reached something of a new low in UK politics with the way in which the Prime Minister has responded to this. It's quite something when the father of the young man who died has to caution the Prime Minister against using this as political capital.
Two other people injured in the attack are still stable in hospital.
Their photos are on most of the front pages this morning. The two victims of Friday's terror attack on London Bridge have been named as 23-year-old Saskia Jones and 25-year-old Jack Merritt. Saskia's family have described her as funny, kind and was generous to the point of always wanting to see the best in all people.
In a statement, Mr. Merritt's family described him as a talented boy who died he loved. They said he believed in redemption and rehabilitation, not revenge, and he always took the side of the underdog. Both were killed at a rehabilitation event for offenders at Fishmongers Hall near London Bridge.
The attacker, Usman Khan, had been released from prison in December 2018 and was attending the event. He was later shot dead by police on London Bridge.
Khan had only years of his 16-year sentence before being released on parole. Sidra Naeem from Brentwood has taken part in Prevent training and is a chaplain too. Sidra, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Does this horrific attack on Friday show that early release does not work?
Yes, definitely. I feel personally that all rehab programs should be finished. Just like when we do counselling with students as being part of the chaplaincy team, you never finish counselling and release people. The emotions all come out halfway through counselling, and the counselling procedures need to be finished really before, students go. And rehab programs work in exactly the same way.
And what kind of things, when it comes to terrorism offences, what kind of things are covered in that rehabilitation programme, and how do you know that it's been effective to de-radicalise people?
The thing is, when people are sentenced and then go to prison, it's not just the punishment process. There's also the rehab programs is what actually helps a person to release their anger, for them to recognise their emotions on why they have done the crime that they have done. And that part is very, very important. The punishment process is completely separate to the rehab programs, which is like counselling, understanding why they've done the crime they've done, looking into their inner selves, into their inner emotions, dealing with any anger issues, anxiety, mental health, stress, all of that kind of stuff. So it's very, very important that the rehab programs are completed and are actually done alongside the punishment procedures. Would
it be quite apparent that had been effective and that you could see a change in behaviour enough? I mean, it's difficult to tell with any sort of rehabilitation of any offenders, I guess, but would you have sufficient indicators that person had been rehabilitated effectively?
Yes, if the training has completely finished, you see, if the sessions have completely finished. And I think that when rehab programs are left halfway through, it is always to do with government cuts. And, we know there's a well-known fact that there's been huge cuts in prisons lately. I'm in touch myself with chaplains who work in prisons, and there isn't enough money. A lot of these rehab programs are run by outsiders who come in who have to be paid to run programs. And there isn't enough money in prisons to cover full training.
And is the punishment process of this, Sidra, too short? I mean, does this ultimately come down to overcrowding in prison and why prisoners are perhaps coming out too early?
Definitely. I've actually met judges myself from, the courts and things, and they themselves have told me that they're not even allowed to sentence certain people because from behind they've already been told how many people they can sentence beforehand because there isn't enough money and funding in prisons to cater for those people who they may sentence. And that's actually inside information which I do know. So this is happening, and there is overcrowdedness in prisons, and a lot of people are being let off the hook. And then when they do go in, then they're released too early because there isn't enough money to fully accommodate them all.
Sidra, thank you for joining us on The Breakfast Show this morning. Sidra Naeem from Brentwood, who's taken part in Prevent training and is a chaplain as well.